and then that's just my website. So whenever it works out.
Yeah. Tell me again which day you do that. And is it every week or every month?
Every Monday. Yeah, it's just a really small group. And so people who are interested in learning more can drop in, or they'll need to register to get the link. But otherwise, it's just a free event where people can come and learn more about it.
Good. Well, you're the first person that I heard about it. And do you just generally call it living benefits, or is there maybe a more correct term that encompasses the whole thing?
Well, Grace is kind of our expert on the living benefits and can kind of speak the most about that. I encountered it through my research as far as people wanting family caregivers, wanting to know how are we supposed to pay for senior care when it's $5, $6, $7,000 a month and we don't have that kind of money. What are the options out there? And so I did quite a bit of research and came up with what's out there. There's long-term care insurance, which is very specifically for long-term care. You can't really use it for anything else. So it helps if that's what you need, but you don't, if you want to live in a facility, it helps in certain circumstances. There's things like reverse mortgages, but other than that, it's life insurance. Certain policies of life insurance you can tap into and get your death benefits before you die. There's annuities, and beyond that, it's just savings, selling your assets, or government programs, veterans programs or Medicaid, which are, I feel like we are so lucky to have those safety nets. But I also, they really limit our care options, so it's really preferable if we don't have to rely on those to have other options. And so I had done that research and found out those things, but I didn't really understand what living benefits were until I met Beverly and Grace here recently, and they helped me learn a lot more about what that was. And so I think, Scott, there's a link there for our educational event for people who want to learn more. But yeah, Grace, if you want to tell us a little bit about, you could probably explain it better than I can.
No, absolutely. Living benefits, basically, like Laura said, allows people to access anywhere between, with certain companies, the better ones out there, 70 to 100% of the death benefit from a life insurance policy. The only company that we know of now that does this is actually National Life Group. They've been around for 175 years, and people-centric company that basically brought living benefits to the industry about 20 years ago. Yeah. So I've been a nurse for almost 40 years. And really during COVID, in the pivot that I needed to make because of 9 months of lockdown in Hawaii, is finding solutions for these medical GoFundMes. So the way that I came about it was really from this drivenness of wanting to connect the dots for folks to see if there are actually existing solutions out there financially to help people so that we don't have to, be one of those statistics. 60% of bankruptcies, 40% of foreclosures in the United States happen when someone gets sick. And, are there viable solutions out there that actually can really be leveraged, or at least we can begin to get educated on them to create leverage so that we can have these income replacement tools to be in place so that we can have peace of mind, first of all, right? Knowing that we can be prepared ahead of time. And more and more companies are beginning to offer living benefits. And it's good to see the terrain changing, in the sense that, wow, what a brilliant idea to be able to use the death benefit ahead of time. And they're still leading the industry with the number one product of the industry that I love to educate and advocate for, because when people can have the right information, they can make an empowered choice in terms of a better decision to shift generational financial trajectories. Yeah.
Information.
Yes. right information, the right
Mm,
information.
Right information.
yes, yes, not just a section of it, and it's like, well, I guess that's all there is. There's there is more. They're
Mhm.
being informed. It's not that you're not intelligent or that you chose poorly
Mhm.
to love your loved ones, and
Mhm.
now you're in the midst of being available for their companionship, their safety,
Yeah.
their transportation, their continuing life. You're
Mhm.
there for them so they continue life, and it's not staring at a wall, a ceiling, a TV.
Mhm.
And it's like, I want that for them. How do I continue to take care of all those other things? Because part of life isn't just visiting the pharmacy or, having adaptive equipment to make sure that you are more um, able. It
That's
is also um, going for going for a ride and seeing what's going on. Who knows, it might be putting on those black glasses, because I think that Laura is in the perfect spot maybe for the upcoming annular what kind of eclipse.
The eclipse, it's
Mhm.
coming. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be right overhead. I'm
Yeah.
hoping.
Yeah, and you're just, it just things like that. Here's somebody who's up in Portland and has loved ones that they are
Mhm.
providing care for, and they're like, "Boy, we would just love to just be there." And it's like, well, that's going to be, we need to make sure we've got extra oxygen tanks, or we've got enough to pay for gas, which is an issue, etc. So, you don't just need money for just the things that fit on a list. You need money to live, to continue to
Yes.
live.
Quality of
absolutely.
life is
Right.
huge. Yeah.
Exactly. Mhm.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say this because I'm a person that lived through some of these problems when my husband got cancer.
Mhm.
And we had everything we thought worked out for our life. And then he got cancer, which changed everything. And during the time he had cancer, we have mountain bills. He couldn't work because he had chemotherapy every other week. He had chemotherapy, and so he worked in a casino where he would be around all these different people, and he couldn't do that, you know, and take chemo. So that means that he didn't have his income. But the second thing that happened to us is we had a balloon payment for our mortgage that came due right during that time period. Luckily, we had insurance, life insurance, that paid us for his, while he was sick.
Mhm.
And we were able to, number one, prevent ourselves from going bankrupt due to all those bills. Because we live in Louisiana, but we were also taking treatment in Louisiana for cancer.
I think it could probably be a lad.
And that thing happened. So we were just thankful that we didn't go bankrupt and we didn't lose our house. Those were big important things that go on while you're having cancer or you're having problem. Life still goes on. And you have to
Mhm.
have money to take care of life. You just got to
Yes.
have money.
You knew that you had set things up so that when the balloon payment came, here you were with your stream of income, and he had his, and it's like, we have got this covered. And a diagnosis, a condition, sometimes it's injury, just sent that sideways. Do you know what, Beverly? I've just met you, and I am hesitant about asking if you want to correct yourself on just one word. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
I think I heard you say, luckily, we had insurance. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking informedly, intentionally. So you're smiling. So I didn't hurt your feelings. But before,
No.
I'm just like, that is a decision, an informed decision. But oh my goodness, I would love to say good morning, Rafi Wagner, an occupational therapist from Florida, working with residents in ALFs currently, assisted
Living
living, maybe
facility.
facilities.
Facilities.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Oh, from Florida. And do any of you know Ruffy? Nope.
I don't.
Nobody raised their
Yeah.
hand. Hey, I am so glad that you found this today. Something sent you this direction. So thank you so much. Occupational therapists were part of my friend circle when I
Mhm.
was a hired caregiver in individual homes where I really met the families, really wanted resources and answers and better things for my people, is just what I called them, because everything was privacy clamped down. So my people, families and individuals that I interacted with, I just really wanted resources. And that's part of why Laura and Beverly and Grace are on the screen today, because it is living benefits that I've heard. So who wants to talk more about that?
Yeah. So, living benefits basically creates that backdrop where we can access resources, at the most challenge times. And that nursing perspective from me really is, if 1 out of 2 people today live on 2 incomes, yeah, and we get a terminal diagnosis, we get a chronic diagnosis where we can't do, 2 out of the activities of daily living or have any sort of short-term, long-term memory loss, dementia of any types, um, or critical things that can literally take someone out. And the 3 big killers in the U.S. today are cancer, heart attack, and strokes, right?
Sure.
Other types of things, if you look at a diagnosis like ALS, cystic fibrosis, end stage renal, if I were hooked up to a dialysis machine, 3 to 5 days a week, there would be probably very little chance that I can hold down a job to be able to continue to create income. So the way that I see it, Christine, is really as a way to leverage these financial tools so that we can have the financial safety nets and in place ahead of time to then now be able to create income replacement. Either it's a monthly payment or a lump sum payment that can take care of us through these very, very difficult times, that can begin to give us a shot at recovery, because we all know what stress does for folks. Yeah. um,
Mm.
and knowing that there are resources out there for when we have incidences of even critical stuff, right? Critical injury kinds of things like coma, paralysis, severe burns, and traumatic brain injury. And obviously, the newest ones on the marketplace today is Alzheimer's and Lewy body dementia, which is a huge a benefit, because we know that today 1 out of 8 people live with Alzheimer's in our country, and those numbers are expected to double in the next 2 decades. So, to be able to tap into up to 1.5 million for a household then prevents the need to spend down, which is the typical advice. Give everything over to the state, get on Medicaid, and then spend down every single dime that you have, including all of your assets. Yeah, because that will all be taken away, and leave nothing to your next generation. So when people can know that these things are around and have the right information to begin to set these things up for themselves, then it creates a very different shift, and shifts generational financial trajectories, because now you um, can pass down that legacy, and which is really what we all want, isn't that right? Instead of being
Oh, yeah.
completely financially devastated by a diagnosis like Alzheimer's. Yeah.
I
Well, and
think
for me, I go ahead, Beth.
one of the things that I really like about the living benefits component is that you can use the money to pay for what you need.
Hmm.
And in the United States, there are 50 million unpaid caregivers who are taking care of parents,
Yeah.
uh, family members, They're trying to work on a job, come home and take care of
Mhm.
a family member. We can stop this. We can stop this generation of the next generation burdened with a parent who's sick or ill and can't work and have to come live with you. Because let's be honest, none of us really want to go to a home.
That's
We
true.
want to stay at our home as long as possible. This will provide a way for people to pay for caregivers, even if that caregiver is your family member, to stay at home with you and not work, and make things so much easier for you, because everyone knows that you most of us do better with our family taking care of us because they love us and they'll want to help us.
Mhm.
But if
Mhm.
you can ease that burden of the family where they don't have to go out to work
Mhm.
too, that's one of the benefits I see in it. Because I did long-term care assessments for people and helping them to uh, determine how to manage the money they have to stay at home from their long-term care insurance. And let me tell you, it's not enough.
Mm. Mhm.
It's not enough. So this is one
People
way
don't want to be a
to
burden.
help.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I
and have the
interrupted you.
resource to take care of ourselves, right? And also take care of our families. Because ultimately, like Bev says, we don't want to pass on that financial burden to our families. Um, and be able to have resources, to have options. Really, that's what it's about. And
Mhm.
to live the way that we choose and with that quality of life that we all deserve. Yeah. And there are tools out there that can help us do that. Hmm. And it's a
Well,
matter.
I'm going to ask my husband to put the link back up that Laura Herman, who lives just south of me. So it should be easy for us to actually be in the same place someday. I know my husband's headed down there in the next couple of weeks, so this could
Oh, nice.
happen.
Oh, that would be
I'm going to
awesome.
ask my husband who is making all of this possible. His name is D. Scott Smith, and Scott is a motivational listener, and he is the one that encouraged me to meet more people with more solutions and
Mm,
support and services that relates in any way to aging and caring and just longevity, which I think of longevity is long life. I mean, that's a wish that you put on people. Have a long life and living your
mhm,
life. So I'm going to ask him to put that back up again. It's the one to get to your Monday, Laura. It's to get to your Monday meeting because Rafi and everyone who is watching without typing, they're just watching maybe on YouTube or on agingbetternetwork.com. They can be watching right there, but there may not be a chat column. And especially those who will go to agingbetternetwork.com and look at the live stream videos and go, how do I what did she say? Because one of the things, Grace, that you said, I heard two ADLs or two
yes.
activities of daily living. And I'm simply going to say there is a list. That is why I would be hired into a home
Hmm.
because this person is either in danger trying to make those regular things that perhaps they used to do or that in general I don't know which state or federal or worldwide if it was the health organization, World Health Organization, whoever came up with the ADLs were like, but that's just basic. These are the things that a person should be able to accomplish for their continued health. They don't end up in a hospital because they've either fallen or they haven't taken care of, something that is now infected, whatever it is, they're not able to get nutrition. Let's be well and let's be home,
Yeah.
like Beverly said. Nobody wants to be forced into you have to leave your home. That just sounds mean. That's from terrible times where someone's like, you have to go and be wherever can accept you at this time. So I'm grateful that you meet together every Monday for people who want to know more about this.
Yeah, the thing that is so um, I think is really important to realize is, it just has been really heartbreaking as someone who has worked with a lot of people in their home and worked with a lot of people, families who've been affected by dementia. One of the things that's so difficult about it is that you don't know how long to budget for. And so many people just feel like they can't spend any money, even on things that they, from an outside perspective, clearly need. I mean, even down to, they're using their incontinent products for longer than is hygienic, and just different things that like really impact their health and their quality of life. But one of the hugest things is, bringing in somebody to help with respite. And because this is, for most people, especially if dementia of any sort is involved, it's a very, it tends to be a long-term situation, and we have to have breaks. We have to be able to meet our own needs in order for it to be a sustainable situation. And when you get caught in that cycle of just not having enough, I don't have enough, I don't think I'll have enough, then, and you start sacrificing, no, I can't go meet my friends, no, I can't do this, no, I can't do that. Your perspective, our perspective changes. We get to be, to where we can see fewer options, and basically get into a crisis mode where we start making poorer decisions just because we are so under-resourced. And so, one of the things that I really advocate for across the board is to make the right decisions in the right moments. And that's everything from, okay, do you have a like, do you wash your hands after you go to the bathroom, or do you wait until it becomes a raging infection and turns into sepsis? I mean, where in the, depending on where in the process are you going to intervene, the trajectory looks completely different. And that's absolutely the same for these financial options as well. But for me, coming from a place of healthcare, I never learned about, well, two things. One, I never learned about them, but also I never really learned about them because I never really put that much importance in them. I felt that I really wasn't interested in, investing or financial tricks or anything like that. It just was something that just didn't align with who I was. But like I said, seeing so many people struggle, and these are even people who have financial resources, but that uncertainty of knowing, okay, I've got this much money. How is this going to need to last me for 20 years? As well as, the whole end of the spectrum. And then, myself going through some really financial uncertainty as well. It really brought it home that just, I'm ready to learn some more tricks and strategies, and I need somebody on my team. And that's what I've been so grateful to Bev and Grace for, because, I know the world is full of financial advisors and this and that. And I, have done enough research to know, let's look for the ones that have CFP after their name. That's a really trustworthy one. But even so, you need to have $500,000 or $1 million, minimum in order to even talk to these people, I guess. I mean, I'm sure there's great ones out there. In fact, there is a great one out there for family caregivers who's Danielle Sparks. So I will plug her because she's great. But as far as the living benefits, as far as in fact, we haven't even talked about guaranteed income for life, which as soon as I started, I started talking with Bev and Grace about this great resource for the families that I advocate for. But as soon as we started talking, I was just like, wait. let's get me set up here first, and then we can keep the conversation going, because I was really stressing out about what am I going to do? I can't work forever. My body is changing. My mind is changing. How am I going to sustain myself? I'm the sole income in my family. My kids are still young, so it was really a heavy burden, and getting those arrangements made. Like I know that I have a wonderful, it's started as a supplement to my retirement fund, but it really has taken the place as my primary source of retirement. I know I'm going to have, a predictable amount of money every month until I die, whether I live to, I guess if I live after 120, I might be out of luck, but I still got a pretty good,
No, then you'll get spots on whatever kind of media everyone's watching. It's like, oh,
exactly.
Laura Herman, she's 125.
Yeah.
Let's pay her to come on and hold our product. You will be fine.
Yeah. So yeah, it's an amazing tool, and I just didn't know. Like I said, I kind of knew about it because I'd done the research, but I didn't know it could apply to me, as someone in the middle class or someone without very much money. And so these women, they're both nurses. Who, of course, I'm always drawn to, have always been around nurses, and just they're such special people. So it's just really nice to have these people, on my team, and to be able to, like, they know the information and they can answer the questions, and it's just wonderful. So I want to make sure that other people also are aware that this is out here. So.
I wanted, well, I wanted to add something. I'm having a little trouble with my signal.
You've been silent for a few moments. Grace, do
So
you
for
have more that
me,
you want to say?
my retirement was gone, what we had planned. And so then I looked around to find something that could take the place of my husband's Social Security, because Social Security is something that's guaranteed. So my retirement was his Social Security, my Social Security, and then whatever we had saved. And that part was gone. So I needed something to replace that. And this is what I found as part of my lifetime, my living benefits, if I don't use them. If I'm perfectly healthy and I'm making through uh, uh, retirement, when I retire, I can turn on this writer, and now I got that income that I lost. And when I thought I had it, event occurred, it changed everything, and that includes my retirement. And people go through these life altering events, especially when you get midlife. You lose is no longer there. So what are you going to do? You need to have something in place. Number one, to prevent that from happening. But number two, if it does happen to you, what can I do? And of this National Life Group is that I can turn on this and I can have my second income that I was supposed to have in the beginning.
It wasn't a plan for either Laura or for Beverly to. You mentioned earlier CFP,
Mm-hmm.
certified
Certified
financial
financial planner.
planner.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I like to repeat those things because it was all gobbledygook to me when I wasn't paying attention to it, when I wasn't needing it. And it was the sort of things that parents and grandparents, they just took care of. You didn't talk about all this. You didn't sit your teenagers or even young adults. They're not even 30 yet. They don't need to know what we've had to, do, that this shouldn't bother them. And it's like, oh, please bother your
Yeah,
teenagers
this is
to
what we want.
know this information.
Exactly. And get them younger and younger to begin these
Yes.
conversations, to educate generations together, right? Because then you can plan together. And so, because children have time, yeah. And so today is really re-educating, families together, communities together, to let them know that there are resources, there are tools out there that can help them in these transitions through life, whether through aging, whether through disease processes, that there are tools that can be that financial safety net perhaps they haven't heard of before. And so that's the piece of the urgency that I feel. And the statistics are that 70% of us will end up using some form of long-term care services in our life. And how are we set up financially to pay for these? And some of them can be very long-standing, like Alzheimer's in particular. We know, someone can take years to go through that entire process of transitioning from the home to perhaps assisted living to then perhaps a memory care um, at the end of life. And those kinds of expenses can be very daunting, like what Bev was talking about with her husband, diagnosed with cancer and going through that process with him as well. So we basically just want to get the information out there for people to know that there are companies who actually care to come up with the solutions, who want to create an impact in these unnecessary medical GoFundMe's, because 90% of them don't ever reach their funding level. And so how can we bring sensible solutions to the collective consciousness and the public to let them know that, these things, first of all, exist, and then show them the way, connect the dots through education and advocacy for them to be in touch with these solutions. Yeah.
Well, Grace, I heard from my husband that you are also friends with Russ Hedge now. Is
Yes,
that correct?
absolutely.
Yeah, he was just saying hello and living solutions consultant. Is that what you generally, if you're just trying to get a person like me
Mhm.
to have something click in and stay there, do you tend to call yourself a living solutions
Well, you know what I call
consultant?
myself today, and that's, ever evolving as that, that purpose, that mission to create this movement
Mm.
continues to refine. I call myself the financial Sherpa today, because if you think about life as your Mount Everest, right? How can we summit this Mount Everest? And obviously, knowing that some of these critical pieces of information needs to be out there in the public awareness so that they can tap in. Because if we don't know that this is out there, we have zero access. Yeah. So it's creating access to education and having the right guides to summit your Mount Everest, wherever and however that looks for you. And mainly, I'm focused on the financial arena, because the understanding really for me is where the rubber meets the road is getting that financial house in order. And as a nurse, I never got educated. Yeah. Almost 40 years in nursing. When we got into the industry, well, get a 401k, but who takes your hand and connects the dots for you to do the education pieces that you need to know? Okay, how do these things work? How they don't
Mm.
work? And what are some of the options out there that you can begin to consider and begin to tap in? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So Sherpa, I'm unfamiliar. Is that someone who carries the burden? Is that someone who guides you? Is in front of you, next to you, behind you, under you when you're climbing a mountain? I'm out of my element on climbing mountains.
So
I
it's
did
someone
once
who's
when I was
gone
in my
ahead of you, right? And gone through the pain of that transformation to know, you know, here is the tool to use. Here is the rock that you may want to go this way around. So having gone through that journey myself in terms of, learning about these tools and seeing what the industry looks like. And as Laura said, doing the research to know what the companies are that are actually for the people, in a sense that, people-centric companies are the ones that I like to, connect folks with, and companies that actually have your best interest, have the financial strength, number one, to pay out. Number two, they run a business in a way where when the rubber meets the road, they are there to basically pay out. Yeah, because the history of payout is important. Some companies can look really great on paper, but when it comes to the history of payout, that's where it impacts lives. Yeah, you want a company that is consistently able to and willing to put products out there that they stand behind, that they are, um, yeah, willing to keep those promises.
I'm I, if I've put you on the spot, if you don't have this right in front of you, neither
Mhm.
do I. So I'm still going back to the activities of daily living.
Yes, let's talk about that. Yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
about that,
Sure.
Beth. If you, yeah.
Sure, I'll talk about it. That's really come from nursing and how we
Mhm.
take care of people. people in a hospital is that, and we teach daily living pertain to people, and they are the basic things that people need to be able to do.
Hmm.
Those are basic. They need to be able to eat. They need to be able to dress themselves, um, eat women, toileting, have control of their bowels and blood, transfer, bathing, eating,
Mhm.
dressing, and dress themselves. How do they do that? Are they capable of doing that? So those are six categories that we look at to say that that person is able to take care of themselves. That's all it
Hmm.
says. It doesn't
Hmm.
say that you can take care of yourself in a very highly efficient way. But this is the basic things that you have to do, or basic things we have to get you to a point in where we can say that you can go home and stay home by yourself.
Yes, now
That's
transfer.
basically what it
I
is.
had to learn all this. This was a decade, last
Yeah.
decade when I
Hmm.
was in my 50s, but I had to learn transfer. I kept
Hmm.
thinking,
With minimal
that's
help
me
if you need
driving a
help.
van with
But
you on the ramp. No, transfer. Can you get up out of bed
movement,
and put
exactly.
yourself
Mhm.
into
Exactly.
a
Hmm.
wheelchair, or do you end up like a
Needing help.
person? And that's all I will say. Or do you end up wedged between
Mm,
your bed and your nightstand and
mm,
literally stay there
mhm.
until a human being enters the room? That person has lost one of their basic rights to
Right.
live healthy. They can't get to the bathroom, they can't get to the refrigerator, they can't get to a phone.
Mhm,
That's not okay. They can't do that because of medical condition, injury,
mhm.
disease.
Or
Um,
cognitive
I'm sorry,
impairment,
but
that's a big
something's
one.
wrong with my internet this morning, so I'm having trouble
That's okay. That's okay,
staying
Bev.
in the conversation.
You're
So
you're doing just fine.
anyway,
That cognitive impairment piece,
but
Christine,
I don't know what was.
is a big deal. Yeah, if someone is not able to properly orientate to people, time, and place, that
yes.
can really impair their functioning. And that's all we're talking about. It's the 6 ways, or 6 levels of function, or 6 categories of functioning. So just to repeat
Wow.
for Beverly, it's things like eating, right? Can you feed yourself? Toileting, can you get to take care of that elimination?
To the bathroom.
Yeah. And getting dressed is one, getting bathed is another one, because those are basic hygiene kinds of things that we need to be able to take
Mhm.
care of. And then bowel and bladder control, yeah, is one. And then the transferring piece that you talked about. So these are basic functional assessments, or levels of functioning that we need to be able to meet to even begin to live. And so if 2 out of 6 of those are impacted, then that is how we can tell that someone needs help. And that is how we can tell that, okay, these chronic riders are now triggered, whether it's through injury, like you said, sickness, certain diagnosis, say like someone has MS, or, Parkinson's, they've got so much tremors that they can't even begin to feed themselves, to put the spoon to the mouth, right? To begin to get dressed and get bathed. And just simple things of life that we talk about. Cognitive impairment with the short-term, long-term memory loss. Maybe
Mm.
I'm even forgetting to, eat sometimes, yeah, to be able to
Mhm.
do that piece, and need assistance
Mhm.
or supervision in any way. Then, there are financial resources that are there to then be able to then allow you to set up the kind of care that you need. For
So,
me,
does the loss of two or more activities of daily living (ADLs) qualify you for
yes,
receiving
yes,
benefits, which is called money, which you need to live
yes,
and to
absolutely.
receive care, or whether you have to pay someone to care for you, or whether you cannot earn now?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm stepping out of bounds here, but one of the phrases I would hear from the people who would send me to a home was unable to problem solve.
Mm,
This person is going, wow, my smoke detector is going off,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So
and I
that
didn't
safety.
think
Mm-hmm,
to get help from a neighbor to get up on a a ladder and see what's going on. I wasn't able to come through with, should I leave the house? So I just sat
Mhm,
there
mhm, mhm.
frozen, and it's like, oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
this was out of the ordinary. Everything was fine. Yeah, you were forgetful. Or yes, you kind of did things at your own pace, but now something happens that would happen and you were like, I'm frozen. I don't know what to do about this.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, so anything that impacts safety. So mainly they're looking for some type of a qualification. So the main qualification is when someone can't perform 2 out of the 6 activities of daily living that we talked about, they can qualify to then begin to tap into those monies, right? We're talking about up to 1.5 million and as a long-term payout. So I'll just use my kids as an example. Yeah, both Donald and Jessica have $1 million policy. And in the way that it would get paid out would be if, someone needs to, tap in and those kinds of factors are in place, 2 out of the 6 activities of daily living or some form of cognitive impairment under the chronic rider then allows a long-term payout up to 2% of that. Yeah. So 2% of a million is 20,000 coming in every single month as an income replacement. And that's significant income replacement. Then now I can begin to have options. Yeah. And this will pay
Mm.
out for up to 50 months. If you need a longer payout, then take half of that at 1%. That's still 10 grand, from $1 million policy for 100 months is a long time.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so that's just under the chronic rider. The critical ones, like I mentioned, are the 4 for critical injury, coma, paralysis, severe burns, traumatic brain injury. And then for the critical illnesses ones, there could be a number of big factors. I'm talking about big diagnoses that can basically take someone out of the game. Cancer, heart attack, strokes that are not terminal, blindness is a big deal. And then
Mhm.
ALS, cystic fibrosis, end-stage renal, major organ transplant, motor neuron disease is a pretty broad stroke. What I mentioned before was
Mm.
Parkinson's, MS, and different diagnoses like that. Aplastic anemia, aortic graft is a big one because it's literally open heart surgery that you will have to get that condition fixed. So these can basically now interrupt and disrupt income. So
Yes.
this is just a way for us to then have that safety net when it comes to that income replacement. Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
already feeling better because financial strain
Yes.
can take it out of a caregiver.
Yes.
These caregivers that I'm not divulging private information. There
Mhm.
is a podcast called Confessions of Reluctant Caregivers,
Mm. Yes.
and it's the Elliott girls, and they lost their dad, able-bodied. He was playing softball. They
Wow.
lost their dad, who was like, "No problem with mom. You
Mhm.
guys come and love her, be her daughters, but I've got this. I'm physically healthy. My
Mhm.
mind is clear. I've got all this." They lost him on a baseball diamond.
Wow.
And I'm just going, I'm not, I don't know the situation. I do
Mm.
know that continuous financial strain, when you talk about, I don't
Yes.
know how many years or decades this is going to be happening because I'm taking really good care of this person and they may live for a very long time, or these people. And, I don't know how long it's gonna last, so financial strain takes a toll on the body of the caregiver, no matter
Yes.
how much love and dedication comes flowing out. Oh, that's that constant
Yeah.
financial strain. Ask anybody who's under financial strain for any reason,
Mhm.
"Do you wanna stay there? Do you just is that a good thing for you? It's a good pressure?" It's like, "No, it's not."
No,
Yeah.
stress makes us more susceptible to illness. It makes us our thinking foggy. It makes us more irritable. It makes us less, dynamic in our thinking as far as, again, like being able to think up um, solutions to the problems, to be able to get into uncomfortable places, like asking for help is really uncomfortable for a lot of people. And when you're just exhausted because of chronic stress and working and trying to be at your best for taking care of your loved one, and all the things on your plate, then to have to push yourself even further to go out further on the limb to ask your siblings that you don't always see eye to eye with, ask them for more help, or it's just phenomenal how exhausting it is. um, so it's, yeah, the more that we can resource ourselves is just makes every bit of difference for our experience.
In
Yeah.
nursing, we have this thing we call caregiver role strain, and it is about the caregiver. It is totally about the caregiver. The fact that the caregiver get overwhelmed, stressed out, unable to take care of themselves. And oftentimes the caregiver will experience some health issues uh, trying to take care of their sick person, their sick loved one, and then they start experiencing problems. And then what happens to that loved one once that caregiver start experiencing problems? And so it's sometimes it's hard for the caregiver to reach out for other people to help. They say, "Well, that's mom and dad. You're supposed to help, and you're supposed to come over and help." But usually in a family, no matter how many people you have, you're only going to have one or two of them that's going to come and help. Okay. And it's just a fact of life. Okay.
It just is.
But, and I think one of the things that happen with caregivers, you get so used to doing things A, B, C, D way. And then somebody else come in to help you and they may not do it exactly the way you do it. And you says, well, they didn't do a good job with mom or dad or whatever. But they're not going to do it your way because they don't know it. But was the outcome the same? And so you have to get that to the caregivers to let go too.
Oh,
And
I
let
think
some,
of so many things that a caregiver can do for their loved ones with money. It takes money, but they can do it for their loved ones and for themselves at the same time, which means that if loved ones are at all aware of what the toll that caregiving takes, they're like, man, I'm so glad that you are getting this 2 hours to go and do something in
Yeah.
a different setting because you can afford to bring me to an adult day service beautiful place where I get to interact with people that I see, and you get to do it regularly, which means I'm comfortable with the people that are there, either assisting or hanging out as well. So, like Monday through Friday, so that you can get into a new rhythm of I've got A, B, C, D that I have to do every day. Oh, I have to do E because you're looking forward to going there. And so now I get to practice being just an individual for a while, and then we come back together again. I think of Mike George. He provides that how to be a caregiver that allows someone else to come into the situation. So, how to not just be polite, but actually, how do you tell them how and why you do what you do? He works on a lot of different aspects of that because when their son was born, they knew that he and his wife knew they were caregivers for the rest of their son's life. And it was really hard on them, on their relationship with each other, on their marriage, on those around trying to help. I'm putting words in his mouth, but I'll just say that he learned during those years how to release and know that he's done a good job choosing the person that would come in and be there for everything. And just that practice of, and there's something else. I'm still loving, I'm still being, but they get to have somebody else, and maybe they are going to have fun in a different way. Or this is, I will have a new story to tell when I come back home. just I just love that. But you have to pay for these trainings and materials and a different person to come in.
Yeah.
What's really cool too, that we haven't really touched on yet about these particular living benefits is it also there's an opportunity for kind of a passive income stream. So if people who are stuck at home aren't able to work outside the house, can work remotely and on their own flexible schedule to bring in additional money in addition to whatever living benefits and guaranteed income for life they're able to set up, which is also just a really cool aspect that we can talk about with people who are interested.
With every human being, to have something else that you do. So you said a passive income stream, and to have that other thing. My daughter keeps saying, "Mom, you should have been an architect," because I did drop designs that actually became some homes. And because someone was like, "I don't know what to do with this piece of property with the easement and everything," and I'm like, "Oh, one of my favorite things is to look at floor plans." There's little book magazines of those. So let's project. Right now I'm 63, so let's say that I'm 78, and I'm thinking, what can I do inside the home, and to be able to maybe take a little course online or something like that to do something different. But I'm at home because I am giving care. It could be anyone in my family. It could be someone that doesn't have anyone else, and I just really need to be there for them. So it's just great to think that as I advance in age, that I would be able to have a passive income stream and to do something else, which makes me a little more interesting to be around, to talk to someone besides what I saw on TV, or, as far as my ears and my eyes can reach. I just living. I am thrilled. I actually followed some of this information. I understood, but I would really like for my husband to put back up on the screen that Monday. Is that the best? Is there a better link that you have provided to help people to go, okay, I really want to know more. I want to know if this is a direction I need to go, if this is a product that I need to have right now. I'm just going to let you guys finish out. We have, less than 7 minutes. So giving each of you a chance to say what you wanted to at the end. And I don't know, extend an invitation to be contacted, any other contact information you want to give.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great opportunity. Every Monday, it's 9 a.m. Pacific, so it's noon Eastern. But we're also, I'm always happy to meet with people. I know Grace and Bev are always happy to meet with people at a different time. If there's any time that's more convenient, we can always set something up custom. I can always be reached at laura@abcdementia.org is probably the easiest to remember. So yeah, I'm so happy to talk with, about this stuff, about any kind of dementia care I do. I support family caregivers with, my focus is how do we help our people with dementia meet their needs, and how do we as caregivers meet our own needs so that all of us can feel and function at our best. And so I have a big emphasis on behavioral communication and determining whether any particular given behavior is just one of those things that we need to kind of, this is the new normal, we need to learn to roll with it, or no, this is actually a sign that there's something wrong, which means that there's something that we can fix and improve. So that's what I really love to do. And part of that, like we keep talking about, is just having the right resources, having the right tools, services, everything. So I make it a point to know, holistically across the whole board, like what are the resources out there. So that's what I love.
Somebody listening to this in replay just got really excited going, what? And she's a dementia expert too. Oh my goodness, I've hit the jackpot. Laura at ABC Dementia, the whole word spelled out, .org.
That's right. Yeah.
Good. I'm going to plug what my husband, D. Scott Smith, motivational listener, said to me one day. You love going to conferences. You should have one. And Laura's co-author, Patty Sharon, is coming to be part of this. And so he's got it up on the screen. I always show my blurry card, but I'm calling it convergence because there's just so much in aging, caring, and longevity to come together. EMTs need to be trained and understand a person who is aging is different than any other age, and in how you approach and how what to know about the possibilities of bones and everything else. There's so much to know and to avoid pitfalls way in advance, because you've said, okay, tell me about aging. And today you've told people about dementia, about activities of daily living, of the solutions. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna go to Grace last to make sure that we've got all the information again. Beverly, Laura just said that you're willing to talk to people at a time that's convenient for both of you, not just on Mondays. How would people get a hold of you?
How would I what?
Oh, you want somebody to get a hold of you
Oh, okay.
to talk about this passive stream of income, this policy, if I can call it that, that would benefit them if they end up with what is a very common aspect of aging.
Okay.
Is so how do you want to be gotten a hold of?
Okay. Well, you can reach me at my website, IamBeverlyBarnett.com. It's that simple. And
That's great.
it's that simple. IamBeverlyBarnett.com. And I talk to people about living benefits, but I also talk to people about Black men's health. Because remember, this all stems from my husband. Everything that I do stems from my husband. So I talk about Black men's health to get Black men aware of their body and take responsibility and accountability for their health. So that led me to that point. And then I got to thinking about myself and women and being middle-aged woman who whole life change. How can I help these women too? So I'm on a dual pathway. But you can
I'm going to spell this out in case someone's listening and they walked out of the room. They're like, what'd she say? It's the letter I, the word am, Beverly, Beverly, Barnett, BARNETT.com. I am Beverly Barnett. She will talk to you about Black men's health. She will talk to you about caregiving. She will talk to you about being able to have an income if you need to be available at home a lot. Oh, I am so glad your internet is behaving right now. This is good. We get, people can listen to me talk, but they need you. Oh, phooey on it. Hey, Grace, you are taking over the end of the show. What do you want people to know? This is the last nugget.
Yeah, living benefits. Check it out because it's something that can shift generational trajectories, can shift your own financial trajectory. Because as a single mom, with 2 kids, my concern was really, leaving that financial burden to my children, shifting that financial burden to my family. if anything happens to me, because, there's nobody to take care of a single person, right? Kind of similar to Beverly's situation. So there are financial tools and resources out there, and living benefits is definitely the hot topic right now within the industry itself, inside of life insurance, that someone can access 70 to 100% of the death benefit. Use that money ahead of time when you get sick or injured, and be able to create that financial safety net and income replacement when shit hits the fan, is like how I like to say it. And so I would just say, do your research, yeah, do your due diligence, find out the best company that is working on this very issue and providing the solutions. We've already mentioned the name of one of them. Many, many more companies are coming out with these solutions, but for yourself, find out the right fit. And if we can be a resource to you, feel free to reach out. You can find me on LinkedIn. So it's Grace May and Fu. That's my handle on LinkedIn. Yeah.
And that's 3 letters, MEI, 3 letters, FOO. No,
Grace May and Fu. So
that's right.
GRACE. Yeah. Mei Yan is basically Chinese for beautiful grace, and Fu is my last name, so FOO. So Grace Mei Yan Fu on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for getting your name right. That's I should have just said, please repeat that. Well, there's an ocean sound in the background, and it isn't because Grace is in Hawaii. It's because my husband is very gently reminding me that we are at the end of our hour. Somebody's alarm went off. So 3 busy people carved out an entire hour for the sake of all of our listeners. Thank you so much to Rafi and Russ for getting into the chat column. Thank you for everyone who's listening to this in replay at agingbetternetwork.com in the live stream video. Goodbye, wonderful women. Man, you're smart. You know your stuff. This has been great. Bye-bye, Beverly.
Thank you so much,
Bye-bye,
Christine.
Thank you so
Susanna.
much. Bye bye.
Oh, I'm so grateful for each of you. Oh, I'm smarter now.